So let's take up the first problem for today. It is addition and subtraction using 2's complement arithmetic, and we are going to discuss the results and nature of the results. Okay, why we are going to discuss that, it will be clear so very soon. Okay, so the first problem is 44 plus 52. We got to do it in binary. So this is 44 in binary, which is written in the first place. So the first bit essentially represents the sign bit. Okay, here we are considering an 8-bit data. We are representing 44 into 8-bit data essentially. Because 8085 the processor uses an 8-bit processor, and 8086 what is there in our syllabus, it can handle both 8-bit or 16-bit. Okay, so we'll see the it will be maybe excuse me, the third class. Probably the first two will be in introduction. Third or fourth class will be memory organization, where we will learn how lecture class I'm saying how this 8086 very efficiently uses 8-bit and 16-bit. We'll discuss that. Okay, so for time being we are considering it as an 8-bit data for this tutorial. So this is the representation of 52, what is shown in the second line. So when we add, it is just simple binary addition. There is a carry out here, which is shown in the green on the top. Again, there is a carry out here. So we get this. Okay, so here which we did not discuss in digital design is the auxiliary carry. Okay, what does auxiliary carry means is, like if you are when we are adding these 4 bits, okay, if there is a carry from here to here, that is from the 4th bit to the 5th bit, then it is known as auxiliary carry. So here if you see, there is a carry from here to here, right? So we say, okay, there is an auxiliary carry is 1. Okay, if there is no carry from here to here, then we say there is no auxiliary carry. Okay, the importance of this carry is, so when we are doing BCD additions, if there is a carry here, it means you got to add another 6, right? In the BCD we learnt in the digital systems. So similarly, so that is the importance of auxiliary carry, right? So no carry, these are the statuses of once we do the addition, these are some of the status flags. Okay, no carry means from the 8th bit to the 9th bit there is no carry here, obvious. So the result is not 0. So if the final result is 0, it's not 0 out here. It's a positive number, since this is the first bit is still a 0 here, which is the sign bit is still a 0. No 2's complement overflow. That also we saw. 2's complement overflow will be in case the XOR of these two numbers are 1, then we say there is an overflow, right? That we learnt in this. So parity is even. Parity is even means it is an even parity. There are two number of ones out here, right? So 2's complement overflow is if there is no overflow, there is no carry out coming from here, and if there is no carry from here to here, right? When you do the XOR, that we know. So that we did in our digital design also. So these are the conditions once you do the additions. Okay, so when we speak in terms of microprocessors, you will see that there will be some whenever there will be an arithmetic logic unit which will do this computation, and also there will be one register which is known as the status flag register. Okay, so there will be one register in which soon after every arithmetic operation, this one register, the status will be updated. Okay, so there will be it is a one single bit 8-bit register here in case of 8085. In case of 8086 it will be an 16-bit register, that we will study it in the theory classes. Okay, so the status of this register will be updated. So if there is a carry generated, while doing an operation, this bit will be 1 out here in this register. Okay. Similarly, if it is an even parity, this will be 1. So these are not used, which are shown as X. If there is an auxiliary carry, then this auxiliary carry, this data will be 1 out here. If the result is 0, right, then this will be 0, and this is the sign flag. If it is the sign flag is, if it's a positive number, it will be 0. If it's a negative number, it will be 1. So after each operation, this status flag will keep getting updated. So whenever we use the ALU to do any operation, it could be addition, subtraction, or compare, or logical AND of two data, logical OR of two data. So whenever we do any operation in the ALU, okay, when we learn the programming, we'll see we'll write commands like a plus b, okay, or we write b plus c, or b into c, whatever operation we write. Okay, once that operation is done, immediately once the operation is completed, the status flag will be updated. So there will be one register in which all the status flags will be updated. So that is why here we discussed what are the states of. So for microprocessors, you need to know whenever we do the any operation, the status flags will be. So from exam point of view, you can say that if an arithmetic operation will be given in like it was given in the digital design, here along with that, what will be the status flag, status of the status flag, okay, will be asked. Okay, what will be the auxiliary flag, what will be the after the each operation. Okay, you got to know this, because based on this condition you can write your program further also. Like suppose you want to compare two numbers, you will subtract those two numbers and you will check whether the zero flag, if it is 0, it means both the data are equal. So we learned that in the programming. So that is the importance. So based on what is the status flags, we can write our program further. Okay, so whether it is greater than or equal to, or whether the result is a positive number or not, if there is a carry, what to do next. So those kind of operations will precede our the earlier instructions, and we will decide how to move ahead based on the status flags. So that is the importance of the status flags in microprocessors. Okay, so is it okay for all of you? Yeah, it might appear a little vague here because we have not yet covered the theory part, but soon we will be covering the theory part also, and then in detail we'll see what are these status flags. Okay. So the next problem is again subtract hexadecimal numbers. Okay, so this again we are revisiting this because now we will be using hexadecimal numbers for our programming. So that is the reason we are revisiting this. So we are going to add 17a with 4c. We are going to subtract these two numbers, hexadecimal numbers. So a is smaller than c, so we take a borrow from 7. Okay, so anybody can say how much borrow would come from 7 to a? Anybody can switch? Yeah, 16, right? So a corresponds to, like we know in hexadecimal numbers, it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it can go up to 16. That is A, B, C, D, E, F. It can go up to 15. So 0 to 15 is 16 unique numbers. So from A to F. So A corresponds to 10 and F corresponds to 15. So you have from since C is greater than A, so and you got to borrow, like in a decimal number, 10 comes out here. So since it's an hexadecimal system, 16 comes from here to here. So 16 plus 10, that is 26. A is 10, so 26. 26 minus C. C corresponds to 12. So it comes to 14, which is again E. So that's why we write E. So this becomes 5. This becomes 6 because 1 has gone here. 6 minus 4, 2, and 1 here. So this is how hexadecimal subtraction is done. So this is just a revision, so that we know next class onwards when we do the programming we are going to use hexadecimals. We are going to represent all the memory also, addressing also we are going to do in hexadecimal number. So that is why it's just a revision for you all, right? So this is okay. The third problem in this is okay, the second one is, I think, have we done okay. Oh, okay. So this is addition of 79 and 89. Okay, in BCD, right? So this is the for in the here you have 79 and you have 89. So we are going to add these two. So 9 and 9 is going to give us 18. It's going to give an carry out here, right? And for BCD we learned that whenever there is a carry or the addition, the result of this addition is greater than 9, we need to add 6 out here, right? So this addition we are writing add 6 here, right? So and then we put in this carry was generated because 8 and this 9 and 9 gave 18. Okay, so here from examination point of view, when we do the mistake, what we do is suppose we add these two and then we are getting an result which is greater than 9. Okay, suppose we are adding 5 and 5, we get 10. There is no carry out here, right? So we'll add 6. Okay, but we won't, many of you wouldn't take this carry out here, right? So this, even if there is no carry but the result is greater than 9, you got to take a carry out here, right? So don't miss out this, right? So whenever we do these two additions in a BCD additions, if there is a carry, or in case there is no carry but the result is greater than 9, because this is a 4-bit data, it can take up to 15, right? So even if there is no carry, then also you need to take this carry out here in case this sum is greater than 9. So that aspect you got to be careful with, right? So you add a 6 here, so you will get this answer here. So it's going to carry 1. You are going to add these two. So when you add these two, again there is a carry out here, so this carry has come here, right? So since there is a carry, you are adding another 6 here. So this is the final result, what we are getting it here, right? Addition of BCD number. Is this aspect clear to all of you? Is there any doubts? Anybody? No? Yeah. Answer is 160. It's 168, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is the third problem. What we have, 2's complement, right? So you are subtracting 26 from 37. So 26 is a binary representation, is this, right? To get 2's complement, you are inverting all the bits here and then adding 1. So you are getting 2's complement. So and then subtraction is just adding the 2's complement here. For 37 and 26 you are adding, so it will generate one carry. So in 2's complement, we know once the carry is generated, that needs to be neglected. Okay, so that doesn't have any meaning. So this is the final answer. So this is a simple problem of adding 2's complement. This we all know. So this is just a revision of some of the digital design problems which we did in the last semester. Okay, so this we know. So multiplication also we learnt in the last semester. So this we know. Okay, so we'll skip this part. So this is a home assignment. You just have to multiply these two and see you're getting it. Okay, Booth's algorithm. This we did in the last semester. Okay, there might be some programs you might have to write in the microprocessor using Booth's algorithm, as we learn microprocessor programming. So we're just revisiting this algorithm. We know how to do this, and multiplying two numbers. First, initially we take a equal to b0, we put m equal to multiplicand and q is equal to multiplier, and this is q1, it's written. We learnt it as q minus 1, right? So you can take it as q minus 1 as 0, count n, and then we compare q0 and q1. If it is 1 0, we do a minus 1, and 0 1, if it is 0 1, a plus 1, right? Okay, q0 is on the left hand side, that is why we learnt it as q1 q0, it's written in the other way around. So just the nomenclatures out here are different than what we learnt in the digital system. Otherwise this algorithm we learnt pretty well in the last semester, right? And we know the logic also why we did that, right? And suppose an example, I explained it in the class last semester. If we have to multiply 3 into 12, this is 12, right? 1 1 0 0, which can be represented as 2 to the power of 4 minus 2 to the power of 2. So if you see this, whenever we are going from 0 to 1, so 0 to 1, 0 1 indicates if there is a 0 here. Okay, now 0 to 1 means we'll have to take 2 to the power of 4 plus 1 to 1. When we are moving from a 1 to 1, we don't do anything. From 1 to 0, we put a negative number, 2 to the power of minus 2. So this can be represented like this, right? 2 to the power of 12 can be represented as 2 to the power of 4 minus 2 to the power of 2, right? And what is this? If you see from this number very carefully, see, this is to, if you put one more bit here, 0 in the, if you start from an most significant as a 0, we are getting from, when we are moving from 0 to 1, that is 2 to the power of 4. Whenever there is a transition from 0 to 4, we add, okay, 2 to the power of 4, and whenever there is 1 to 1, that is 2 to the power of 3, we don't do anything. From 2 to the power of 3 to 2 to the power of 2, when we are moving, it is 1 to 0, so we put a negative sign here. Again 0 to 0, we don't do anything. So this is what why the Booth's algorithm comes from. Okay, this is the way we represent this number like this. Okay, so this is how the Booth's algorithm has been developed. So this we discussed. If anybody has forgotten about this concept, please revisit that lecture on Booth's algorithm. Okay, so this is an example of minus 3 into 7. So initially we are going to initialize a as 0 0 0. Now q is this, and minus 3, right? So this is 7, and this is minus 3, right? So we got to compare between these two, this last bit of q and this q1. It is written q1 here. So we are going to compare this is also initialized to 0. So it is 1 1 and 0, right? If it is 1 and 0, that means we need to subtract a minus 1. We need to do a minus m. So this is m is 7, so we need to do a complement of that. So if you do the complement of this, you will get 1 0 0 0 1. So a minus 1. So this is what we get here, right? So is this aspect clear to all of you? All of you remember Booth's algorithm, you did in your exam also, right? So this is 1 0 0 1 is nothing but a minus m. So from 0 to minus m, we get this number, right? And this is written as it is down, and then we do one shift operation. Okay, while doing the shift operation, we have to remember it is arithmetic shift. That is, now whatever is the last MSB, that comes here, right? And it is not that when we shift you push a 0 here. So when we are shifting it's an arithmetic shift. So that is why it's a 1 is being pushed in from here, and whatever is q1, that is just neglected. What is pushed out, whatever the previous data of q1, that get pushed out. So we have done an push right operation out here, right? Shift right operation here, right? And then again we got to view these two numbers, these two, it is 0 1. so you will do an a minus 1 operation here, right? So then again you will do a shift operation, and here it is 1 0, so we do an addition operation here. So similarly we complete with this the Booth's algorithm, and we get the final answer out here, right? So this is just a revision. So anybody who is not sure about how to go about this, just revisit that class where we did the Booth algorithm, and in tutorial also we did, and most of you did it correctly in the final exam also, right? So this is some examples you can try out in your own time. Okay, so this we couldn't cover in the digital class because of finally the syllabus was cut short. So let's try and understand how an division is done in binary system. Okay, it's known as restoring division. This particular algorithm, we'll see why it's known as restoring. See, how do we do division normally in a paper and pen method is like this is the number which is, and we are going to divide it by 1 binary. Okay, so first we are going to take first bit 1 and try to compare with this. Okay, so if when we are comparing it with this, obviously 1 is smaller than this, so we are going to put a 0 here, right? And then since it's a and how do we compare? We compare by subtracting 1 the 1 from 1. If it's a negative number, we are going to put 0 out here. Okay, and since it's a negative number, now we are not going to change the result. Okay, we are now whatever we did the subtraction, since it's a negative number, we are going to neglect that, and we are going to take again, that is why it's known as restoring number. So we are the result of that subtraction, we are again reverting it back as 1. Okay, coming back to the first step here where we have taken only 1, and now we are going to take 2 bits. Okay, 1 and 0, and then again 1 0 we are 1 1 we are going to subtract from 1 0, right? The result is negative, so we are going to put one more 0 on top here. Whenever there is a result negative, we are going to put 0 here, and again we are going to revert back to the previous state. That is, we are not going to take the result of the subtraction. Instead, we are reverting it back as 1 0. Okay, and then we are going to take the next bit here. That is, we are now going to take 1 0 1. Okay, now we are taking 1 0 1 and then subtracting it 1 1 from 1 0 1. Right, now the result is, since 1 0 1 is greater than 1 1, the result is a positive number. Now since it's a positive number, right, we are going to write 1 on top here, right, and then we are going to retain this number. We are not going to restore it back, and we are going to retain the difference. The difference is 1 0 here, and we are going to take the next bit here, right? So, and then we are going to put here. So the logic here is, okay, first we take one bit, and we are going to subtract this number from that, right? If it's a negative number, we are going to put 0 here, and retain the number. And if it's a positive number, we are going to take the quotient as 1 and going to retain whatever is the difference which comes here. So this is how the restoring division logic works, right? So what we are going to do is, there is going to be a register which we are going to calling it as M. We are going to put it M, initialize M with that number. There is going to be one register A, which we are going to initialize as 0, and then we are going to put the number which is to be divided into one more register as Q, right? And then with each clock cycle, we are going to take one bit into A here. That is, like, initially we take 1 out here, right? Do a subtraction, right? Once we do a subtraction, if the result is negative, we are going to put Q0 here, and we are going to push one more 0 here. This is going to be 0 out here. The result is going to come here, right? So we are going to put a 0 here, and we are not going to make any changes in A, right? Okay, so this is how the logic works. Again, in the next cycle, we are going to move one more number here from here, right? That is, we are going to take two numbers out here. Again we do the subtraction and we will check if the answer is negative. Okay, whether it's positive or negative, that will come from the sign bit, right? That is where the flag, I said the importance of flag. Okay, from the flag we can see what is the status of the flag. So whenever the microprocessor does any operations, the flag status gets updated. So we can read those status flag register. Okay, each data we can read that bit data and accordingly make a decision what we want to do, right? So from the status flag we know, okay, from the sign bit we know if it is a, so suppose it is a if it's a status sign is 0, sign bit is 0, that means it's a positive number. In that case, okay, this A will not be restored. So the whatever is the difference which has come, that will be loaded into A. Okay, and in that case Q0 will be given, will be fed with the with 1 instead of 0. So that is how this division algorithm works. Okay, I'll show you the entire block diagram so that will become clear. Okay, see, we'll just go through one example, then it will become very clear, right? So this is M. We are giving an I am giving an example of 1011 here, 1010 here, and we are this is 10. We are dividing it by 3, right? 10 divided by 3. So this is the 2's complement of this. So that I have just written here, so that whenever we need to do the minus operation, so this is readily available. What is 2's complement here? So initially it is 0 0 0 0 here. This is 1 0 1 0 Q. Q, we have initialized Q with 10. So we are going to divide 10 by 3. So 10 is put here, right? The first operation is going to be shift left, right? Okay. So we are going to shift it left. So now I said here Q0, what is to be put in Q0 is not known initially. That will be known only after the subtraction. So the first operation is shift left, right? And then you do minus M, right? Minus M is adding this number, right? Initially A is 0. So after shifting this 1 has come here, right? Here we don't know what to put. So we are doing minus M here. Minus M is like, this is A and this is M. This is minus M. So when you add this, you get A minus M here, right? Once you get A minus M here, is this a negative number? Yeah, it's a negative number because the first digit is 1 out here, right? So it indicates it's a negative number. So what do? We need to do two things. First, Q0 we are going to put 0. That is this first number which we didn't know earlier what to do with that. We are going to put a 0 out here, and also restore A. Like restore A is this whatever we got after subtraction. We are not going to use that. We are going to put this, whatever was the value of A before the subtraction, we are going to put this here. Is this till here clear to all of you? Do you want me to repeat this? Anybody? Is it clear? Can somebody say yes or no? Yeah. Okay. So but the shift left after checking of sign of A. Yeah. No, here it's left shift and then do A minus N. So we here, if you see, the first step is initialize M divisor. A is equal to 0, shift left, and then A is A minus M. This is what we did, right? Okay, right? So just be clear. Okay, initially we have initialized A as 0 0 0, right? The number which is to be divided, okay, is 10, which we have written 1010 out here. Okay, 3 we are going to divide 10 by 3. So we have written m is equal to 3. This is minus 3, right? First thing what we did is we did a shift left operation, right? When we are doing a shift left operation, we don't know what is to be the fourth number, so we just put a question mark there. Okay, so we have done a shift left. Once we have done the shift left operation, right, after the shift left operation, then we are going to do a minus m, right? So we are minus m is this, so we are adding it, right? So once we add, we get this number. So once we get this number, we see the most significant, which is the sign bit. If it's a 1, it means it's a negative number. Since it's a negative number, we are going to revert it back to a value which was just prior to the subtraction. So we are writing the reverting back, restore a. So that's why I have written here restore a, right? And we are going to put a 0 here, right? Again, we are doing second time and shift left operation. So we have put a question mark out here, right? We have put it, and then we are again subtracting these number, that is adding. So it's a negative number again out here, right? So since it's a negative number, we instead of question mark, we are going to write a 0 out here, right? And then we are restoring it back to the value just prior to the subtraction. So this has come to 0 0 0 0 here, right? So again we are doing one more shift left operation, but in this case, if you see, it is an 0 out here, so it's a positive number. Since it's a positive number, right, since it's a positive number, no, this is a shift number, and then this is the positive number, right? Since it's a positive number out here, right, we are going to insert q0 is equal to 1 out here, and also we are not going to restore the value of the m. Now whatever is the subtracted value, we are now carrying forward for the next operation the same number, right? So again we are doing another shift left, right? Again we are shifting left, that's why we are putting a question mark out here, right? So this has become 0 0. So so this has shifted one more left out here, then you are subtracting one more here. So one again, it's a positive number. Since it's a positive number out here, we are pushing in instead of a question mark here, we are going to put it as 1 out here, right? So we are going to do this like initially we got to initialize this counter as n equal to 4, because it's a 4-bit number. So 4 times we are doing shift left, shift left, shift left, shift left, because it's a 4-bit number. So 4 times we are going to shift it. Now n is equal to 0, we stop the operation there. Okay, after n is equal to 0, we will not do any more shift operation. So but after shifting, we go to complete this cycle, a minus m and the value of q. So once we complete this, so we get this, the quotient is like 10 divided by this is the remainder what we get in a, right? The remainder will be available in a, and the quotient will be available at q. So is this algorithm clear to all of you? Right, this we skipped in our digital class, but this algorithm you need to know, because we might be writing some programs for this when we do microprocessor programming. So this is a pretty simple program of division. It's known as restoring. Okay, so there are other algorithms also, non-restoring type also, but for this tutorial I just covered the restoring division aspect, right? So this is an home exercise. You can try to do this of your own and see to it that you can verify the results. Okay, so that's all for today. If there are any doubts, then we can take on. If there are no doubts, then we'll call it off for today.